The Vietnam War. The years 1965 to 1973 marked intense fighting, political upheaval, and deep societal division in the United States. It was a war that played out not just on battlefields, but also on television screens and in American streets. The Vietnam War remains one of the most controversial conflicts in American history, sparking debate and reflection decades later. To understand the Vietnam War, we must first understand the historical context. Vietnam, a nation with a long history of resisting foreign occupation, had been fighting for its independence for decades. After World War II, France attempted to reassert control over Vietnam, leading to the First Indochina War. The United States, wary of the spread of communism, supported France's efforts, providing financial and military aid. The Vietnam War was linked to the broader Cold War rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union. The Cold War was a period of intense ideological struggle, a global chess match for dominance. Vietnam became a proxy battleground where the two superpowers fought for influence. The involvement of the Soviet Union and China transformed the Vietnam War from a regional conflict into an international crisis. By 1965, the conflict in Vietnam hit Nam. The dense jungles, humid climate under President Lyndon B. Johnson committed ground troops, marking a significant turning point. American soldiers, many young draftees, faced a determined enemy employing guerrilla tactics. The North Vietnamese Army, NVA, and the Viet Cong proved to be formidable adversaries. Despite their technological superiority, the Americans faced significant challenges in Vietnam. The dense jungles, humid climate, and unfamiliar terrain made it difficult to locate and engage the enemy. The Vietnam War became a grinding war of attrition. The United States relied heavily on air power, launching massive bombing campaigns. Operation Rolling Thunder aimed to cripple North Vietnam's war effort, but had limited success. On the ground, American soldiers engaged in brutal search-and-destroy missions. The war exacted a heavy toll on both sides, with thousands of soldiers killed and wounded. Civilian casualties were high, and the use of napalm and Agent Orange had devastating long-term effects. In January 1968, the Viet Cong launched a massive surprise attack known as the Tet Offensive. Although a military defeat for the Viet Cong, it was a strategic victory for North Vietnam, shattering the perception that the United States was winning. The Tet Offensive had a profound impact on American public opinion, fueling growing anti-war sentiment. The Tet Offensive marked the beginning of the end of American involvement in Vietnam. President Johnson announced he would not seek re-election, and his successor, Richard Nixon, promised to end the war. The Paris Peace Accords, signed in January 1973, marked the official end of American involvement, but fighting continued until Saigon fell in 1975. North Vietnam, led by Ho Chi Minh, emerged from colonialism with a fierce fighting spirit. Years of conflict had instilled resilience and determination in the North Vietnamese people. Their strategy relied on patience, resilience, and the belief that time was on their side. Ho Chi Minh, a nationalist leader with communist leanings, commanded the respect of millions. His leadership united the Vietnamese people against foreign intervention. Ho Chi Minh's shrewd political maneuvering and commitment to reunification made him a formidable adversary. South Vietnam, officially the Republic of Vietnam, was deeply divided. The South Vietnamese government struggled with political instability, corruption, and a lack of popular support. The presence of American troops often fueled resentment and bolstered support for the Viet Cong. The Gulf of Tonkin Incident in August 1964 propelled the United States deeper into the Vietnam War. Two confrontations between U.S. Navy destroyers and North Vietnamese torpedo boats provided President Johnson with the pretext to escalate involvement. The Gulf of Tonkin Resolution granted Johnson broad war powers, escalating American involvement in Vietnam. In January 1968, North Vietnamese forces launched a massive siege on Khe Sanh Combat Base. For 77 days, U.S. Marines withstood relentless bombardments and ground assaults. The siege of Khe Sanh became a symbol of American resolve and exposed the tenacity of the North Vietnamese. While the Americans held on to Khe Sanh, the battle highlighted the challenges of fighting a conventional war against a determined guerrilla force. In the annals of warfare, certain events sear themselves in. Entered the village of My Lai in South Vietnam, took on those who fought in it, further eroded public support. They reveal. The My Lai Massacre, a dark chapter in the Vietnam War, stands as a chilling reminder of the horrors that can unfold when the fog of war descends and moral compasses are shattered. On March 16, 1968, a company of American soldiers, frustrated by losses and fueled by rumors of Viet Cong activity, entered the village of My Lai in South Vietnam. What followed was a horrific rampage, as American soldiers, under the command of Lieutenant William Calley, systematically rounded up and killed hundreds of unarmed Vietnamese civilians, including women, children, and elderly villagers. The My Lai massacre, initially covered up by the U.S. Army, sparked outrage and revulsion when it came to light a year later. The massacre, a stark reminder of the war's brutality and the psychological toll it took on those who fought in it, further eroded public support for the war and fueled the anti-war movement. My Lai became a symbol of the moral quagmire of Vietnam, a stark reminder of the human cost of war and the potential for atrocities when unchecked aggression and dehumanization run rampant. Section 4. The Easter Offensive, Nixon administration's policy of Vietnamization. These ground forces and American air power continued its withdrawal from Vietnam, and the Paris peace talks dragged on. North Vietnam launched a massive conventional offensive across the demilitarized zone that separated North and South Vietnam. The Easter Offensive, as it came to be known, was a bold gamble by North Vietnam, a test of South Vietnam's ability to defend itself and a challenge to the Nixon administration's policy of Vietnamization. The offensive caught the South Vietnamese army by surprise, as North Vietnamese tanks and infantry units poured across the DMZ, threatening to overrun several key cities in South Vietnam. The United States, though deeply committed to withdrawing from the conflict, responded with massive air power, launching B-52 bombing raids against North Vietnamese positions and supply lines. The Easter Offensive, while ultimately repelled by a combination of South Vietnamese ground forces and American air power, exposed the fragility of the South Vietnamese government and the challenges of achieving a negotiated peace. The offensive demonstrated that North Vietnam remained committed to reunification by force if necessary, and it underscored the difficult choices facing the United States as it sought to extricate itself from the quagmire of Vietnam. Section 1. America's Scars, a nation American foreign policy, and fuel discussions about guns, many of whom faced the draft, questioned the cynicism towards authority, and a lingering sense of disillusion lifted off the roof of the U.S. Embassy in Saigon. The war divided the nation like no other conflict since the Civil War, pitting Americans against each other in a bitter and often vitriolic debate over the war's morality, purpose, and conduct. The war's legacy continues to shape American foreign policy and fuel discussions about the use of military power in the 21st century. The anti-war movement, which gained momentum throughout the 1960s, became a powerful force in American society, challenging the government's authority and demanding an end to the bloodshed. Protests, marches, and demonstrations, often met with violence from authorities, highlighted the deep divisions within American society. The war exposed the generation gap, as young Americans, many of whom faced the draft, questioned the values and decisions of their elders. The war also exacerbated racial tensions in the United States, as African American soldiers, disproportionately represented in combat units, faced discrimination both in the military and at home. The war's impact on the home front was profound, as returning veterans, often scarred physically and emotionally, struggled to reintegrate into civilian life. The war's legacy included a deep distrust of government, a cynicism towards authority, and a lingering sense of disillusionment that permeated American culture for decades. Section 1. America's Scars. A nation divided. The Vietnam War left an indelible mark on the American psyche, its impact reverberating long after the last helicopter lifted off. The war divided the nation like no other conflict since the Civil War, pitting Americans against each other in a bitter debate over the war's morality and purpose. The war's legacy continues to shape American foreign policy and discussions about military power. Section 2. The Price of War. Beyond the battlefield, hundreds of victims of bombing raids, massacres, as the Vietnamese people, despite enduring but also in the countless lives forever altered by the conflict. Over 58,000 Americans made the ultimate sacrifice in Vietnam. Their names etched on the black granite wall of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C., a somber reminder of the war's enduring legacy. Beyond the battlefield, hundreds of thousands of American soldiers returned home bearing the invisible wounds of war, post-traumatic stress disorder, Agent Orange exposure, and the psychological scars of combat. The war's impact on veterans and their families continues to this day as they grapple with the long-term consequences of their service. For the Vietnamese people, both North and South, the war's devastation was immeasurable. Millions of Vietnamese civilians perished in the crossfire, victims of bombing raids, massacres, and the brutal realities of a conflict fought on their doorsteps. The war left Vietnam's infrastructure in ruins, its economy shattered, and its people deeply divided. The use of Agent Orange, a powerful defoliant, had long-term environmental and health consequences, contaminating vast swaths of land and causing birth defects and health problems for generations of Vietnamese. The war's legacy in Vietnam is one of resilience, as the Vietnamese people, despite enduring unimaginable suffering, rebuilt their lives and their nation. The end of the Vietnam War in 1975 proved to be a complex and often painful process. Adopted market-oriented reforms, attracting the spirit of renewal and reunification. The country, ravaged by decades of war, faced the daunting task of rebuilding its shattered infrastructure, healing its deep political and social divisions, and forging a new national identity. The reunification of North and South Vietnam, while a long-held aspiration for many Vietnamese, proved to be a complex and often painful process. The communist government in the North, victorious in war, imposed its political and economic system on the South, leading to resentment and resistance from some segments of the population. Thousands of South Vietnamese, fearing persecution, fled their homeland, becoming refugees scattered across the globe. Despite the challenges, Vietnam embarked on a path of economic and social development, gradually emerging from the shadow of war. The country adopted market-oriented reforms, attracting foreign investment and fostering economic growth. Vietnam's resilience, its strong work ethic, and its commitment to education have fueled its transformation into a dynamic and increasingly prosperous nation. The Vietnam War had profound implications for the global enemy fighting on its own terrain. The Vietnam War, while a tragedy for those who fought around the world, the war's outcome, perceived by many as a defeat for the United States, tarnished America's image as a superpower and diminished its credibility on the world stage. The war also exposed the limitations of American military power, demonstrating that even the most technologically advanced military could not always prevail against a determined and resourceful enemy fighting on its own terrain. The war's impact on American foreign policy was significant, leading to a period of retrenchment and a reluctance to engage in large-scale military interventions abroad. The Soviet Union, emboldened by the American withdrawal from Vietnam, expanded its influence in Southeast Asia and other parts of the developing world. The war also had a profound impact on China, which emerged from the conflict as a major regional power and a key player on the global stage. The Vietnam War, while a tragedy for those who fought and died in it, reshaped the geopolitical landscape, ushering in an era of multipolarity and challenging the assumptions that had underpinned the Cold War order. The Vietnam War, a conflict born out of the Cold to political changes in Laos and Cambodia, with duration and stability. The organization, driven by the domino theory, feared that the fall of South Vietnam to communism would trigger a chain reaction, leading to the communist takeover of neighboring countries. However, the aftermath of the war revealed the flaws in this simplistic worldview, as the dominoes refused to fall as predicted. While the communist victory in Vietnam did lead to political changes in Laos and Cambodia, with both countries eventually adopting communist regimes, the feared domino effect did not materialize. The countries of Southeast Asia, each with their own unique histories, cultures, and political dynamics, charted their own courses, resisting the simplistic binary of the Cold War. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, established in 1967, played a significant role in fostering regional cooperation and stability. The organization, initially formed by Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand, sought to promote economic growth, social progress, and regional peace and security. The end of the Vietnam War, while a tumultuous period, also created opportunities for reconciliation and cooperation in Southeast Asia. The Vietnam War was not simply a conflict confined to in Sydney. People from all walks of life took as mere stenographers for government pronouncements, began attention, and sparked a wave of anti-war sentiment that transcended national boundaries. Images of the conflict, broadcast into homes around the world, brought the brutality of war into sharp focus, galvanizing a generation and challenging the Cold War's ideological divide. From the streets of London and Paris to the universities of Tokyo and Sydney, people from all walks of life took to the streets, protesting against the war, demanding peace, and questioning the morality of a conflict that seemed to serve no purpose other than perpetuating violence and suffering. The anti-war movement, fueled by a growing awareness of the human cost of the conflict and a deep-seated belief in the futility of war, became a global phenomenon. The war also had a profound impact on the global media landscape. Journalists, no longer content to act as mere stenographers for government pronouncements, began to report more critically on the war, exposing the discrepancies between official pronouncements and the realities on the ground. The war in Vietnam marked a turning point in war reporting, as journalists increasingly saw it as their duty to bear witness to the horrors of conflict and to hold those in power accountable for their actions. The year 1975 witnessed a momentous event, the fall of Saigon. On April 30th, North Vietnamese tanks rolled through Saigon, and the Stars and Stripes was lowered from the U.S. Embassy. The city was renamed Ho Chi Minh City, honoring the communist leader who led the struggle for independence. Images of the chaotic evacuation remain etched in memory, a reminder of the human cost of war. For the Vietnamese, the fall of Saigon marked the end of a conflict and the beginning of a new era. The Vietnam War, though fading into the realm of history, all and silent. The war's impact on Americans as the Vietnamese people, despite enduring unable, offering valuable lessons for navigating and the enduring human cost of war. The war's legacy is complex and multifaceted, a tapestry woven from threads of triumph and tragedy, resilience, and loss, reminding us that the true cost of war extends far beyond the battlefield and lingers long after the guns have fallen silent. The war's impact on American society remains profound, serving as a cautionary tale about the limits of military power and the importance of a clear and attainable objective in foreign policy. The Vietnam War also highlighted the importance of public support for military interventions, reminding policymakers that wars fought without the backing of the people are rarely sustainable or successful. For Vietnam, the war's legacy is one of resilience, as the Vietnamese people, despite enduring unimaginable suffering, have rebuilt their lives and their nation. Vietnam's emergence as a dynamic and increasingly prosperous nation stands as a testament to the human spirit's ability to overcome adversity and forge a new path forward. The Vietnam War, a conflict born out of the Cold War's ideological struggle, serves as a reminder of the human capacity for both conflict and reconciliation, for destruction and renewal, offering valuable lessons for navigating the complex and ever-changing landscape of international relations in the 21st century.